Hi, it's Dr. Martha. I'm working on some videos for mid-back, chest, and ribs right now. I had a request for some stretches to get kind of deeply into the intercostal muscles and bring a little bit more movement and mobility into that rib cage. So these are based on some restorative yoga postures. And if you have access to a Pilates studio where there's the half barrels, or if it's a Stott studio, the spine corrector, you can do the same thing using those pieces of equipment. If you're working at home and you have a bolster like this is going to be your pal for when you're working on this. If you don't have bolsters at home, no problem at all. If you have a couple pillows that you can stack together instead of the bolster, not necessarily on top of it, that's going to work fine as well. You're just really looking to create something that you can lay your body over. And you can play with how high or thick that feels good to you, and what type of firmness or density feels good too. So just giving you some ideas to play with. We're going to be starting, if your knees will accommodate this position, in kind of a mermaid sit position. So you've got the inside of one foot tucked against the inside of the other thigh, and the other leg is out here. You're going to be trying to keep that right sitting bone reaching downward. It's probably not going to touch the ground, but just as you come into your side bend, keep it reaching downward. We're going to start by taking that left hand out onto the bolster or the pillows. Take a breath in as the right arm comes up. Exhale, you're slowly going to walk that hand over, and if it feels better to have the hand on the bolster, you can. You're going to lengthen your side up and over that bolster. Arm's going to come out on the ground, and the other arm can come up and overhead. My ground kind of cuts off here, but yours won't. So if you feel like it's beneficial to have a pillow between your shoulder and your ear, you can do that. Any other variations, just so you feel comfortable and supported, is really what we're going for here. In postures like this in restorative yoga, you typically get into the posture and hold it for several minutes if you feel comfortable and safe there. So I'm talking like 4 or 5 minutes. So you can find this position and then pause the recording here if you'd like to, or watch it through a couple times, and once you get the gist of it, you can take this position as long as you'd like. Things to think about really include breathing deeply into this side of the rib cage. If you have any tenderness or bruising on either side of your rib cage, you're really going to want to be careful with this and maybe not lay into the side that feels bruised and tender, but use your own discretion, of course. So if you have an idea now of what this is going to look like, when you're ready to come out of the posture, it's going to go as such. Taking your breath in, right arm's going to come up or press down into the bolster, and then exhale as you make your way all the way back up to seated. At this point, if you'd like to try a different variation, a slightly different posture, what we're going to do, moving your bolster, if you're working with that, from the hamburger way, however you like to think about it, to the hot dog way. That just always works for me. So we're going to go from short to long, and then at this point, this right hip is going to start to swing forward as the spine lengthens up and kind of spirals around. You're turning toward that bolster. And then you're slowly going to keep lengthening your spine out as you hinge slowly forward. If this feels too dramatic and you want to get more pillows or bolsters in between, you can. And then you can let arms relax however's comfortable. Head can either stay rotated this direction, or if it doesn't bother your neck, you can take it in the opposite direction. And whichever way you choose to take your head in rotation is fine, just so long as it doesn't bother your neck. Focus on deep breaths into that right side of the rib cage and back in your rotation. And again, just let yourself completely surrender into the posture and breathe deeply for about 5 minutes or so. Again, coming out of this posture, you'll place hands down, brace them on the ground, slide your shoulders, slowly lengthen the crown of the head outward as you gradually make your way back up to tall and slowly rotating back to the center. At this point, then you would switch and pick up the other side. So you can either move your bolster over to the opposite side, or at your home practice, what I would suggest doing is just keeping yourself in place and pivoting so that you're turned around facing the opposite direction. Bolster to hip, opposite side mermaid sit. But because that doesn't work very well for a video, I'm going to pick mine up and move it. So in this position, you can move right back into that rotation. This time the left hip's going to rotate forward. Spine travels around that spiral as you lengthen up through the crown of your head. You gradually lower out over the bolster. Again, head can turn to either direction, whatever feels good in your body. Taking the posture again for about 5 minutes, resting and breathing. And then to come up, hands planting, shoulders gliding, lengthening tail to top of head, and then slowly returning to tall. Move from that hot dog orientation to the hamburger orientation. Left sits bones reaching down into the ground. Right hand can come out over the bolster. And then we can take a breath in as left hand comes up and you start sliding out over. Or if you prefer to take left hand here to support yourself on your way down, that's fine too. Finding that side bend, that lateral stretch where you're lengthening from that left sits bone up through the top of the head and up through the left fingertips. Deep breaths coming into that left side of the rib cage here. And then coming out, you'll take a breath in, following that left arm up after you've hung out here for about 5 minutes or so. You can press that left arm down too if that feels better, and slowly return back up to your seated position. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit more loose through the sides there. You're breathing a little bit easier. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. Thanks very much for watching.